Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something that's probably on a lot of your minds. This flood of AI-generated content.
Yeah, it's everywhere, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And it can look impressive, mimicking styles and all that, but does it ever leave you feeling like something essential is missing?
Definitely, that hollow feeling.
Right. So we're calling this deep dive The Commons Strikes Back. Reclaiming creativity from the algorithmic slop. Catchy, maybe?
I like it. And that feeling, that sense of something missing, that's exactly what we want to get into today.
Because in this whole AI creativity explosion, it's easy to just feel swamped. Information overload.
Totally. So our goal here is really to cut through some of that noise, try and figure out what actually makes human creativity, and valuable beyond just the tech specs.
Absolutely. And to do that, we've pulled together some pretty diverse sources. It's quite a mix.
It is. What have we got?
Okay, so we're going way back, looking at thinkers like Machiavelli, even Zhuangzi. Then there's stuff on consciousness, belief, from abundance workbooks, Buddhist psychology.
Interesting combo, consciousness and Machiavelli.
Right. And then we've got artistic angles, jazz improvisation, Oscar Wilde, plus some really powerful social commentary. Orwell, James Baldwin.
Wow. Okay. That's a deliberately wide net.
Exactly. We think that's kind of key. We need to look at this human versus AI thing from all these different viewpoints.
And what's fascinating, I think, for you listening, is how these sources, which seem so different on the surface, might actually point towards some common ground, some fundamental ideas about what we really value.
Yeah. So the mission, if you will, is to get to the heart of what makes our human creativity special, especially now with AI getting so capable.
We're asking the big questions, hopefully ones you've thought about, too.
Like, what's the real value of effort? Does imperfection actually matter? Is it a bug or a feature?
Good way to put it.
And, what about community? Where does that fit into creating things?
Okay, yeah, let's unpack this. Where do we start? Maybe with that core idea. What makes something inherently human? Because when AI steps into creative fields, that feels like the nub of it, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And it's interesting how, like you said, the sources come at this from different angles.
All right, take Machiavelli. Very focused on, let's say, practical effectiveness. Getting results. Almost a detached view of the world,
Yeah, results-oriented. Get the job done, whatever it takes.
Exactly. Now, contrast that with, say, Buddhist psychology, like in the Dhammapada or Thich Nhat Hanh's work. The whole emphasis shifts. It's about internal development, understanding your own mind. Mindfulness.
That's a really stark contrast for you to consider there. Machiavelli's Prince. All external goals. Buddhism. Deeply internal. Self-awareness. Ethics. Striving to be that noble one. Wise, learned, dutiful.
Totally different motivations. And this, I think, highlights a key distinction for you relevant to AI. AI works on algorithms, data. It's about outputs, meeting criteria, effectiveness, popularity, whatever parameters we set.
Right. Optimized for the goal.
But human creativity, it seems so tied up with our inner lives, our emotions, struggles, our sense of right and wrong. Even someone like Oscar Wilde,
Well, yeah.
in De Profundis, writing from prison, he talks about how suffering led to this huge personal change, this transformation, that inner journey shaped by actual lived experience. AI doesn't have that. Not currently, anyway.
You're absolutely right. An AI could analyze Wilde's sentences, maybe even mimic his wit.
It could generate text like him.
But it hasn't lived it. It hasn't felt that despair and come out changed. Which connects to something else I was thinking about for you listening, this idea of imperfection. We're messy, right? Humans. Our creations often have flaws. Is that part of their value?
Oh, that's a crucial point to think about. Consider jazz improvisation.
Yeah, good example.
It's all about being in the moment, spontaneity, how the musicians react to each other. You get unexpected notes, maybe things that technically are wrong.
But they work.
Often, yeah. They give the music its energy, its uniqueness. It's not about hitting every note perfectly according to a score.
It's that humanness shining through, isn't it? The willingness to, take a risk, be vulnerable in the process.
And you could argue that AI, which is often designed for perfect execution based on patterns it's learned, well, it might smooth out those rough edges, eliminate those beautiful little flaws.
Which might be exactly what we connect with. Okay, what about effort? Does knowing someone poured time, energy, maybe wrestled with something, does that change how we value it?
I think it often does. Think about something like The Cloud of Unknowing. That mystical text emphasizes how deep contemplation. It demands discipline, hardship even.
He talks about the full great travail, right?
Yeah.
The struggle to let go of distractions.
Exactly. That effort, that dedication is seen as essential for insight. Or look at James Baldwin in The Fire next time.
Powerful stuff.
He talks about how vital it is for Black people to define themselves, especially in a world constantly trying to find them. That act of self-creation against adversity, that takes immense effort, struggle.
It's almost like the struggle itself adds value for us. If an AI spits out a technically perfect novel in 5 seconds, does it carry the same weight for you as one an author bled over for years?
That's the question, isn't it?
Which leads us to maybe the central issue here.
Uh-huh.
Who gets to define what value even means in this new landscape? Is it the algorithm favoring trends and scale? Or is it something more, well, human?
And this is where folks like Orwell and Baldwin feel incredibly relevant again for you. Orwell, Animal Farm, 1984, Newspeak.
Controlling language to control thought.
Precisely. How language gets twisted to redefine reality, to eliminate words for independent ideas. Now, think about how algorithms curate what we see online, creative content included.
They definitely shape our reality subtly.
They influence our sense of what's popular, what's good, what's even visible. It's not necessarily some evil plan.
No, it's just the logic of the system. Engagement, clicks.
Right. And Baldwin's point about self-definition is so important here for you. If algorithms are increasingly shaping the creative environment, are they also shaping our definition of creative value? Are we losing the ability to value things based on our own human criteria?
That's a bit chilling, actually. Baldwin saying marginalized groups must define themselves. Maybe human creators now need to actively define the value of human work against this algorithmic tide.
I think that's exactly it. And that connects directly to the focus we mentioned, this idea of community-authored infrastructure and valuing slow creation.
Okay, let's dig into that for our listeners. What does community-authored infrastructure actually mean here? And why frame slow creation as a response?
Well, think of community-authored infrastructure as people like you, listening, actively building and supporting creative systems outside the big algorithm-driven platforms.
Like what? Zines, local art groups, indie music labels.
Yeah, things like that. Local collectives, independent publishing, maybe open source platforms that are built for human collaboration, not just maximizing clicks or profits. It's about creating frameworks that actually celebrate the human side of making things.
So consciously building alternatives, places where likes aren't the only currency, where value isn't just about scaling up endlessly.
Exactly. And slow creation fits right in. It's about pushing back on that constant demand for more, faster, the instant gratification thing.
Which AI is really good at delivering.
Right. Slow creation says there's inherent value in the process itself. The time taken, the effort, the learning, even the mistakes along the way. Think about, hand-thrown pottery versus mass-produced mugs.
Or a band woodshedding a song for months versus an AI generating 50 variations in a minute.
Precisely. The value isn't solely in the finished object, but in the journey, the craft, the human connection involved.
It feels like a form of resistance almost. A quiet rebellion against creativity just being measured by scalability and cost-effectiveness.
Yeah, reclaiming the value of the unique, the handmade, the intentionally imperfect, perhaps, for you.
And it brings us right back to that first question.
Right.
What makes something human? It's not just technical skill. It's the story, the struggle, the community connection.
And think about those abundance workbooks we mentioned. They often encourage you to challenge limiting beliefs, right? Embrace abundance.
Yes, see possibilities, not just lack.
So in this context, maybe it means challenging the belief that AI's efficiency automatically devalues human work. Instead, focusing on the unique things only humans bring to the table. That unique abundance.
That's a really interesting way to frame it for yourself. Shifting perspective. Moving away from this feeling of scarcity to scarcity of attention, validation towards recognizing the inherent worth of human creative acts, whatever their scale or algorithmic performance.
Exactly. And remember, Zhuangzi, questioning conventional thinking, encouraging a more natural, unforced way of being.
Flowing with the Tao.
Kind of, yeah. There's a parallel there for you, maybe, with resisting the pressure of algorithmic optimization in creativity. Valuing the organic, sometimes messy path of human inspiration instead.
Okay, so as we sort of wrap this up, the core tension we've explored is really about defining value, isn't it? How do we value creative work when AI can churn out technically good stuff so easily?
It forces us to look past just efficiency, to consider those deeper qualities that resonate with us as people.
Effort, imperfection, story, connection.
Right. And this leads to a final thought for you, the listener. We talked about community-authored infrastructure, slow creation. How can you actively participate in valuing and fostering human creativity in your own life, your community?
Maybe it means paying more attention to the story behind the art, the effort involved.
Could be. Or directly supporting artists you admire, getting involved in collaborative projects yourself, or just making space for your own slow, thoughtful creation.
It's about making conscious choices about what we value, rather than just letting algorithms decide for us.
So the final question I guess we'll leave you with is this. What kind of Creative Commons, what kind of shared creative space do you want to support and be part of? What role will you play in making sure human creativity doesn't just survive, but actually thrives alongside AI? Something to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.